If you go to Bali, you might not want to wear your most expensive jewelry, and you might want to wear some cheap sunglasses instead of those beautiful new Oakleys that you just bought. Because, according to The Independent, Bali's thieving monkeys deliberately target the most valuable items to trade for food. So the monkeys in Bali have kind of figured out what humans tend to value the most, and they steal those items specifically so that they can get the best trade for food that they like. So they would rather steal your wallet or your iPhone than maybe like an ice cream cone out of your hand or something else like that, or a bottle of sunblock, for example. Although in some countries like that, I know in Thailand, sunblock is pretty expensive, so maybe they steal that too. But anyway, when you go to Bali, you have to protect your valuables when you're around these monkeys because they're going to steal it to try to get some good, delicious food. It says long-tailed macaques have sophisticated understanding of the value of the objects they steal. I think this is really interesting. And so the Independent says, long-tailed macaques who live around the Uluwatu temple in Indonesia deliberately steal the most valuable items from tourists in order to exchange them for better food, research shows. Yeah, I think primates are very smart. So are dolphins. So are octopi. Is that how you say the plural of octopus? I think so, etc. There's a lot of intelligent animals out there, and it's really interesting to see kind of how that intelligence plays out in real life. So apparently, at least macaques can kind of understand what are valuable items to humans and what are not. Researchers found that the enterprising monkeys have sophisticated knowledge of which items tourists consider most valuable and which are likely to net them the best returns when bartered for food. This is pretty complex economic behavior. The team from the University of Lethbridge in Canada spent 273 days at the temple in Bali and recorded over 2,000 interactions between the monkeys and tourists. They established the relative values of food rewards for the monkeys by observing their preference between three rewards offered by temple staff for tourists who want their property returned: raw eggs, bags of fruit, and crackers. And here's another really interesting thing. They found that individual monkeys have different preferences between the rewards. So not every macaque wants the exact same reward the most. And I think that reflects the experience of humans really well too. We don't all like the same stuff. We don't all like the same music or the same food, etc. So that's very interesting to me as well. And from their video recordings, they observed that the monkeys have a sophisticated understanding of the value of objects they steal and would often hold out for greater or more preferred rewards when stealing items such as mobile phones, wallets, and cameras. While previous lab experiments had shown monkeys attach value to non-food items such as plastic containers and can learn by experience that such tokens can be exchanged for food, this study looked at the free roaming monkeys around the Hindu temple. In a paper published in the journal Philosophical Transactions of the Royal Society, Dr. Jean-Baptiste Leca, an associate professor in the University of Lethbridge's psychology department, said his team also found the monkeys seemed to learn the value of tourist items as they grew up, as they observed that younger macaques made no distinction between the value of items. So this is something that this Society of Macaques has learned recently. And so apparently these macaques learned what we value so that they can get better food for themselves. And I think that there's probably a lot of commonalities in different primates' brains. And actually, this other article does show that. So this article is from eureka.org, and it says that brain development is surprisingly similar between humans and other primates. So this says, what makes the human brain special? It's not the time it takes to mature, according to new research. Scientists report that the human frontal cortex, the part of the brain involved in higher level thinking and reasoning, follows a developmental trajectory similar to that of other primates, including chimpanzees and macaques. So chimp brains and macaque brains follow a similar kind of development that our brains follow, and it's not that different. They're not that different from us. However, what another study found that I don't have pulled up here, but I looked at it earlier, is that basically the communications between regions of the brain and the way that neurons are connected to each other is different between chimpanzees and macaques and humans. And that accounts for a lot of the differences that we see in the kinds of intelligence that humans have versus macaques and chimpanzees. And so our brains are not all that different as much as we thought before from chimpanzees and macaques. And this macaque study is interesting because it shows that they can kind of feel the value that humans give to different objects and discern between them and hold out to steal good items so that they can get the food they really want. And so when we think about human economic behavior, we can take a look at the kind of lower level economic behavior of other animals to get a sense of kind of a baseline of how economics is influenced by just our biology and acting in the world and how we learn things. And as a person who has studied economics before, I think this kind of research into the animal kingdom, I guess you might say, is extremely interesting because it says something about us too. And we're not that much different from other animals, especially primates, although we also are in a lot of ways too. So I think it's really interesting that these monkeys know what to steal from us. If you go to Bali, protect your iPhone, especially if you got the newest one. They're probably going to get it from you if you're not careful. And so anyway, with that, I'm Jim Wolf. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope to see you in the next one tomorrow morning at 7 a.m. Eastern as well. And either way, I'll talk to you later.